And we are now joined by SNY Jets analyst and former Jet linebacker Bart Scott. And Bart, let me open up with a question looking towards the future. You've been in many NFL locker rooms. You know when a team is fractured and, maybe what the next guy needs to be. So if Joe Douglas picked your brain, what would you say he needs to look for in the next head coach of the Jets?
Well, with all things, it's not about having an offensive guru. It's not about having a defensive guru. It's about having a leader of men. And it's about who can galvanize the troops, who can inspire, and who can teach. So this is a very young roster with the Jets. They need teachers. We saw it across town. It's not about the wins and losses per se. It's about developing a young core that's going to be very cheap and inexperienced, and that's going to grow with each other, that's going to develop and have a window in which they have an opportunity to put some championships in the trophy case. And to do that, you have to have people that can develop, and also because you're not going to have the opportunity to always be able to spin your way out of your problems and your issues. I think that you're going to have to be able to develop, and you're going to have good drafts. That's how you have sustainable success. We see that. We saw that with the Legion of Boom. We see that with Mahomes. A lot of their players are homegrown, and it took a while, but you're going to have to stay the course. And it wasn't the fact that Adam Gase couldn't potentially turn it around. Is that he was brought in here for one reason and one reason only, and that was to develop Sam Darnold, and he got worse underneath his tender.
Bart, as you look around the league and you see that 3 coaches were fired during the regular season, probably a few more coaches will be fired this week. And you've lived here, you've played here, and you've played in other cities. Just how desirable is the job to be head coach of the New York Jets with the number 2 pick in the draft and plenty of cap space?
Well, I think it's desirable. Every team that's out there with the opening has an opening for a reason, and also they have a lot of issues. The Jets, I think, is the cleanest of all slates because if you like Sam Darnold, you get to keep him. If you don't like him, you have the opportunity because of your draft capital to draft, one of these young talented players out there. If you believe that a guy or retread like Jameis Winston is available, you have that. It's going to come down for me to what coaches and coaches' prospects think about Joe Douglas and what it's like to work with him and how they feel about his football acumen. Really, this is about Joe Douglas being able to hire his first head coach and be able to sell himself and how he builds his program to a would-be head coach, because it is other desirable pieces out there. But you think about a place like Houston, they have Deshaun Watson. He's a transcendent generational talent, but you don't have any wiggle room. You're cash-strapped and you don't have your own draft picks. You look at a place like Detroit. Traditionally, I'm from Detroit. That's been one of the hardest places to ever, build a program at. They're patient, but they still haven't built a program, not since the run and shoot, Wayne Fontes, Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Brett Perriman, Johnny Morton led team that only had success for 1 year. So it's going to be some opportunities out there, and it's still going to be some more opportunities. We don't know yet. We'll see if Adam Gase is the last. I don't think so. But it's a lot of, good places out there. But I think the Jets is a good location because of so much flexibility. You have a lot of draft capital for the future, and you have a ton of cap space.
Did you say Jameis Winston? Man, that would provide us with a lot of fodder here in New York, and especially for you on the radio as well, Bart, if Jameis Winston came here to play for the Jets. But you mentioned Joe Douglas, and, a coach might want to work for him. I'm sure you've gotten to know him over his time with the Jets and looked at his record in the NFL. How much faith do you think the Jet fans should have in Joe Douglas and getting this hire right?
Listen, I understand where he comes from. Like, Joe Douglas was – my caddy for the most part. You know what I mean? When he first got in the league, he was a Turk for the Baltimore Ravens, and he used to have to pick us up from the airport. I understand that he sat behind some of the greatest minds, whether it was Howie Roseman in Philadelphia, but Ozzie Newsome as well, where he spent the majority of his football career, professional career. And I understand that he understands it's not always about the flashy things. You saw him have a lot of discipline and not go for all these flashy picks with the cap space that he had. And now you see that he set himself up and positioned himself, to get, multiple draft picks, to be able to get compensation for Jamal, to be able to get Le'Veon off the books. He's going to bring C.J. Mosley back and have to make a decision about C.J. But he has tremendous flexibility to move up and down the board. He has tremendous flexibility to make trades, whether he decides or the coach that he hires decides that Sam Darnold is the future or not. He has options. And when you have options, that's what coaches and coaching prospects like. They like to have the flexibility to be able to have moves on the chessboard.
Bart Scott, we appreciate the time. Thanks for the insight. Have a good night.
Hey, my pleasure. You too.